Fudger moves on in, and he scores!
He's gonna learn today.
What's up, everybody? And welcome to another episode of the Pod Street Bullies. My name is Derek.
And I am John. What's going on, everybody?
Fresh off the cutting table with my ACL and meniscus all repaired, but still feeling like a bunch of poop. We are going to talk about some real fun stuff the month of November. It's been a hot one for the Flyers. But first, John has some exciting news that he would like to share with you folks. So, John,
I do.
Take it away, my man.
I do. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our first sponsor. This episode of the Pod Street Bullies is brought to you by Larry's Lamb-flavored laces. Have you ever had the craving for shoelaces that taste like roasted lamb chops, but would absolutely destroy your digestive system if you actually ate them? Well, Larry's Lamb-flavored laces has the cure to your cravings. Each pair of laces has been carefully prepared, 75 and a quarter days in a vat of lamb juice with no preservatives. It's hands down the best set of lamb-flavored laces on the market. Just head over to larry'slamlaces.com, enter the code PSB for 14% off your order. Larry's Lamb-flavored laces, making shoes tasty again. Okay, I'm good.
We're done this episode. I don't even want to continue.
Listen, we're not getting any sponsors. I figured I'd start making stuff up myself.
All right, I got next week then.
All right. What do you think, though? That was pretty good.
It could have been much worse.
I mean, I've always wanted a pair of lamb-flavored laces.
Yeah, but like, how many are you going to go through a day? Because it's like, you think about it, you're on your train ride home or train ride to work, you know, you're hungry, and you're like, crap, I'm not going to be
You don't want
at
to
school.
eat them. They're not lamb laces. They're lamb just flavored.
Yeah, but I mean, let's be honest. How often are you going to be able to, you know, chew on them until they wear and tear?
We shouldn't chew on them, period.
Well, if they're lamb flavored, I'm going to want to chew on them.
I don't know. Larry's the guy that called me up.
All right,
ask him about it.
Yeah, we'll talk to Larry then.
All
we'll
right.
get a hold of him. But guys, in all seriousness here, we've got some actual hockey to talk about and not lamb-flavored shoelaces. The Flyers are coming off of one of the hottest months they've ever had. The hottest November they've had since 1990. I wasn't even born yet. I was like 3 months until I was born in November of 1990. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that is crazy.
Jeez.
You weren't born yet? God
No,
damn it.
1990 November? January 91. So like 3 months, 2 months later.
January 91?
Like right at the beginning of January too.
Crap. I'm
Yeah.
89 January.
Oh. Yeah, see, I can't even use the joke like I was just sitting at the bottom of my dad's ball sack because I wasn't anymore, you know?
Right.
But
So that's what happens when you call me at 1 a.m. going, oh man, take a look at my life. I'm a lot like you. Because I am a decent amount older than you.
I guess, you know.
I should probably shut up so we can talk about hockey because
Yeah,
I'm getting already off the rails.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think I have the option to mute you, but I'm not going to. But overview of this month so far. Or I should say so far. It's over. 10-2-4, 24 out of a possible 32 points, 49 goals total, and they only gave up 40. Man, when you look at the past 5 years, I mean 5-5-2 last year, 2-5-6, 7-5-2, 5-6-3, 4-8-1. I can keep going. The numbers haven't been there.
Right.
2013 was the last time they even came close, and they were 9-4-2 with 20 points.
And now, is this just November or a month in general?
This is November. These are the November records for the past 5-6 years that I just rattled off there.
All right.
But, 10 wins in any month is impressive.
Dude, most points by any team in the month of November. I mean, that's all you have to say right there. And
Well,
I think the funniest part is, I think it was maybe last week or 2 weeks ago, we were being aggravated by this team.
oh, yeah. That's just how this fan base is, though. You know that.
Right. Well, I'm talking about us. Like the two of us, we weren't talking too highly about things.
Oh, no. You get tired of all those shootout losses, those blown leads, and those blown leads were a part of November. I mean,
Right.
But at the same rate, you take those blown leads in stride and you get to this record that they've got now for the month. Impressive.
Right. Oh, yeah. I mean, and when you think of the regular season, right? it's about getting points. I mean, of course, you always want two, but when you can get one, one's better than none.
Exactly.
So, that's the thing with this team. They're getting points.
Yeah. You may call it the loser point. I'll call it a point that they probably didn't deserve, but got anyway. So, great.
Right. I mean, of course, this can always go the other way where it's like, we really could have used that extra point down the road. But for right now, I mean, you can't really argue with how this team is playing.
Absolutely not. And I mean, you see the contributions coming from not just, offense, not just defense. Goaltending has been incredible. I mean, the latest piece that I just wrote really details it and goes back to what October looked like, which was pretty rough. But offensive-wise, we've got how many guys that had over 10 points this month. You've got Couturier leading the way with 15 points this past month. Giroux had 11. Konechny had 12. Voracek had 11. Voracek's finally coming on. Your piece detailed that as well.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's great because we're finally seeing the people that we expected to contribute. And you knew it was only time that this would happen. I've been really hard on Jake Voracek, but he is starting to produce. The only concern with him is consistency. I mean, it seems to come in waves. But what I think has been really impressive is not the Claude Giroux and the Voraceks of the world, but we're seeing people like Scott Lawton and Tyler Pitlick has looked great. People who don't necessarily contribute a lot offensively have been really stepping up too.
Yeah, you touched on the point that I wanted to touch on with Scott Lawton. 5 games since coming back after he sustained that injury against Columbus in October, and he's got 3 points so far. It's the little things too. The fact that he's back on the PK, right, and Pitlick as well, like you said.
I mean, it's wild to say this, but it's almost like Scott Lawton is seriously one of those most valuable pieces to the Flyers roster just for everything that he is able to do. He's not going to be the guy to give you 3-goal nights, whatever, but you could put him anywhere. You're not going to put him on the top line, but he could play the fourth line, the third line. He can even last on the second line if you need him to. He can do the PK. Mm-hmm. He's a real impact player on this team.
The guy's a Swiss Army knife in terms of where you could put him. I mean, like you said, any line, even if he needed to fill in on the top line, I'm sure it wouldn't be a mess.
Right.
But, I'm glad we don't have to do that right now.
For sure.
Pitlick, Vigneault's been very vocal about him, saying he's a great grinder, just really plays those hard minutes, and he just soaks them up. Great, tough-nosed. He's got a nose for the puck, and he's shown it. He's got 4 points this month, which no one expects him to light the lamp. No one expects him to really go off on the score sheet, but it's encouraging to at least see a couple points out of him this month. Right.
And the thing is about hockey or any others is don't need all of those people to be the offensive dynamos. Like he's doing the little things right. And when he's on the ice, he's not a liability. And that's something that we couldn't say about this team's bottom 6 in the past.
Exactly. You look at the bottom 6s of the past where your Dale Weisses, your Jori Lehtera's, your Chris Vandevelde's, Ryan White's, I could go on.
Right.
It was just putrid. It was terrible. And these guys were literally just on the ice plugging up a roster spot.
Right. The funny thing is the people who are a liability now, have the capability to be a real asset. Like if you look at like JVR,
yep,
right? He's probably the forward standing out as someone who's having the hardest time right now.
Oh, yeah. He's got 5 points this past month, which isn't terrible, but not what you want from a guy who's making $7 million a year.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't he on the fourth line?
Yeah, I believe so. Let's be honest, he's kind of earned that spot at this point.
You know what's interesting, and it might be a little bit of a tangent, but if you look at his usage, right, he's 5-on-5 is fourth line, but he's still on the power play unit with Giroux.
His net front presence about him is what keeps him on that power play unit.
Right.
His mitts around the net, but at what point is it gonna come and you're gonna be like, man, I think we could better utilize a guy like Lindblom on that top power play unit, or a guy, even if you want to, put Hayes or a Frost. If Frost is already on there, I don't like him where he's at on that power play either, but that's a discussion for another time. There's other guys you could plug in.
But what I do like, though, is, I don't know, I think it shows a level of intelligence on Vigneault's part where it's like, you know what? This guy is having a tough time, but I know what he's capable of, and I also know where he succeeds, and the power play is a perfect place to stick him in front of the net. So knowing that he can be an asset there, allow him to stay there and hopefully get out of this funk. I mean, and then down the road it's not working, then you switch things up. But for right now, I just like that he's not completely demoting him.
Yeah, I mean, but at what point are you going to be able to say, okay, he's recaptured it, or okay, maybe he's not going to return to form this year?
Right. I mean, I say 2 more games with no goals, is even on the power play, then whatever, it's time to move him off.
Yeah, and I mean, we forgot to touch on the 4 games from last week, and we can literally just run through them real quick, saying great performance in net. The Flyers won all 4 of them. And JVR did, in fact, have a goal against Detroit, but half the team looks like they had a goal against Detroit.
I was a little nervous about the beginning of that game, to be honest with you.
I was too. They let Detroit hang around a bit, and that's in Flyers past, that's indicative of a letdown game, not necessarily a trap game, but one of those games where you're like, this should have never happened.
Right. I mean, and historically, the Flyers have been known to play to their competition.
Oh, absolutely. Up and down.
Right. But, I mean, finally, they were able to just kind of stomp on their throats and put up 6 goals, right? 6-1?
Yeah, 6-1. Hart came up big. Hart was 32 saves on 33 shots.
Nice.
Looking here, Columbus, Elliott played well, saved all but 2 of the 30 shots. That was another game. I mean, you had Pitlick and Lawton netting goals in that game against Columbus. 2 guys that, you don't necessarily expect it from, but it comes. Game before that, the first game of the week was Vancouver, and Couturier and Voracek both had the goals.
Right. I want to spend a little bit of time on the Montreal game. First of all, the Provorov goal.
I'm still
I watched like 4 or 5 times, and I'm like, where the hell did that come from?
And we're gonna trademark this, Ivan Coast to Kostarov.
I like that.
That's what I'm calling him from now on. And folks, you heard it here first.
Get the T-shirt made.
Yeah, we'll put that on Teespring. We got merch, by the way. Yeah,
we do. We're supposed to promo that at the end of it. Remember, that's how we do things. Yeah, we'll plug it again.
Yeah,
we'll plug it a few times.
Buy it, son.
But if I can just talk about the Canadians for a second. First of all, I hate the Canadians, but that's just nothing to do with that.
I do too.
This guy Joel Armia,
scumbag.
But where the hell did he come from? So he was lighting up the Flyers. I mean, even when he wasn't scoring, he was the most dominant forward on the ice.
He's the guy that lit up Pasternak the other night, isn't he? From behind, like unsuspecting, just decked him.
I think so.
What a jerk!
Well, he's a jerk. But I was watching the Bruins Habs game last night. I think that's when it was on.
That was the one.
And yeah, well, I didn't catch that part live because I went to Sleepies. But
Sleepies.
But for when I was watching the game, once again they're talking about this Joel Armia guy. I mean, I'm like, who the hell is this dude? Apparently, he was a 16th overall pick at one point, and just like has never become much of anything. But he seems to be playing pretty well in Montreal.
He's like a Steve Downey type.
Yeah, Steve Downey. Jesus.
He started with the Flyers and he ended up coming back, didn't he? Oh,
yeah,
man.
Yeah,
that guy.
Those reunion tours never turn out well.
Yeah, JVR, we're talking to you.
Yeah, seriously.
But you're right.
Most of them aren't that expensive.
You're right. But the Montreal game was kind of nerve-wracking because like that's another game like the Detroit game where you're like, okay, Flyers should win this game. You know, Montreal's not as good of a team.
6 in a row, I think they lost Montreal.
Yeah, they had lost 6 in a row, and that's the perfect setup for Flyers of the past, where you're like, All right, man. Flyers. Keith Kincaid's in net. I mean, even the narrative with Detroit, Calvin Pickard was in net, and everybody's like, this guy's just going to come back and shut the Flyers down, and thank God he didn't. Oh.
I think this past weekend's games are what kind of got me over the hump as far as, like, my pessimism. Because I was just like, with Detroit, we're going to find a way to lose this game. And then it's like, Montreal, we just played Detroit last night. These guys have a 6-game losing streak. We should win this game. We're going to lose this game. Mm-hmm. And then we go to overtime, and like, we're going to lose this game. This is going to happen. And then we didn't lose the game. And I'm like, all right, now I'm in.
And you want to know why we didn't lose that game?
Ivan Provorov.
Ivan Kosta-Kosterov.
Ivan Kosta-Kosterov. I'm sorry, it's going to take me a little bit.
Get with it. But yes, you're
Sounds
right.
like a Ben & Jerry's ice cream.
I'd eat it. But anyway, you're right. This. Excuse me. It's going from just knowing that previous Flyers team where the letdown's coming. There's a looming letdown around the corner, and it's coming no matter what. It always is there. And now it's like you expect it, but when it doesn't happen, it's kind of like, okay, it doesn't necessarily prolong it, but then you start becoming optimistic. And cautiously, I might add, Joe Tillman brought it up to us, through a message on Twitter and was asking, he's like, when's the point where we really start to become more confident in this team as opposed to just being cautiously optimistic? And I'm not confident right now, but I'm damn sure cautiously optimistic because these last 4 games, putting up wins and being able to gut them out when you needed to, speaks volumes about this team under AV and the changes that he's made in such a short amount of time.
Right. And, I think the right word for me is I'm enjoying it. Like,
yes.
I don't know where I am. I mean, I'm still very cautious, but I'm just having fun watching the games. When we hired AV, I was excited. But you still don't really know what you're going to get. You're kind of just waiting for it to flop. Being a Flyer fan, you're kind of just used to that crap. What he has been able to bring this team just lights a spark within me. I just love watching this team play under him. I'm so interested in the decisions he makes and the explanations he provides. There's just something about this where after years of Hextall, it was just this amateur crap. It's like we finally have somebody who knows what they're doing.
It's so refreshing because for so long, like you said, you get so accustomed to the Hextall way and the Hackstall way where everything's kind of, status quo with a guy like Dave Hackstall. And that's what you're conditioned to just kind of roll with. Hextall, building for the future. And now AV and Fletcher come in, and they're literally, aside from the reference Miley Cyrus, they're coming in like a wrecking ball, and they're just like, F that. Yeah, that's exactly. Like, imagine that. Chuck Fletcher naked on a wrecking ball, just bang, hitting the Wells Fargo Center, saying, we're not,
I can't do Chuck Fletcher, but AV naked on the wrecking ball for some reason I can.
AV looks a little better.
You just got Mike Yo like pushing the wrecking ball.
Tarian,
feel like he's on the swing.
Tarian's sitting there operating it in the cab.
Hold on to your chain, AV. Hold on to your chain. I don't know what that accent is.
You tried your French Canadian accent. I get it.
I don't know.
We're on the same wavelength.
It was like a British. It was like a French Canadian leprechaun from Russia.
It was like your terrible Bettman accent mixed with like a bunch of others.
I like that accent.
I think it's hilarious. But
somebody gave a shout out on Twitter, so it's making an impression.
Really? To you? Because I didn't get tagged in that.
No, you definitely did.
I did?
Yeah, I can't remember what exactly
it was Vale. Vale, he didn't give us the shout about the Bettman, but he said something about 13 followers, and I'm just like, yo, I can relate.
No, somebody was like from the singing to the Bettman impressions, whatever.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean now. Okay, I'm with you there. But
changing lives over here. All right, Jesus.
All right, well, I'm changing direction. We're going to hit back to the hotness that was November for the Flyers. They look, I mean, we touched on it before. They look great, but like, where John, where is this coming from? Is this an offensive revelation? Is this a defensive revelation? Is it a crease revelation where the goalies are spurning this?
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but what my guess is you have new coaches, a new system. October kind of showed that, right? It was a learning curve. People were struggling. Sometimes people just have slow starts to begin with, and I think that a few of our stars were having that problem. But you also had this whole new system and new just everything going on within the organization. And I think it took a little bit of time to click. And I think November, it clicked.
Isn't that scary? Like for other teams, not the Flyers. Isn't that scary
Right.
for other teams seeing how fast that all this clicked? And now you're looking at Washington, who's honestly, realistically, within reach. You're looking at the Islanders, who got hot and are still decently hot. But, I mean, is it...
I'm waiting for them to Islander, though.
Exactly. Yeah, Islanders gonna Isle, you know. But we can make that a saying too. Let's put that on a T-shirt. But like the rest of the Metro hasn't exactly instilled a ton of confidence in me at this point.
No,
and there's plenty.
Pittsburgh is riddled with injuries.
Yeah, I mean it's a shame. You hate to see it, obviously, but as a Flyers fan, it's just like okay, good.
Right.
But obviously, not wishing injury on anybody.
Right. No, we get it. You don't need to explain yourself. We get it.
Yeah, it's. I mean, dude, is it realistic to think that this team's gonna finish with a Metro spot, like a 1-3 in the Metro, instead of just a wild card?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'm not saying that they're definitely going to, but I think that that's certainly a realistic possibility. You know, like you said, you have Pittsburgh. You don't know. I mean, there's so many injuries. You don't know what's going to happen. For some reason, other teams always seem to give them players, so you can always kind of count on them to be in contention. But Carolina,
cap relief, ugh.
Right? Carolina, you don't know with that team. Columbus, I'm not really threatened by Columbus, and then you get New Jersey and the Rangers. They're just doing what I expected them to do. Fun
fact: PK Subban and Justin Braun have the same amount of points.
Right.
Yeah. Who wants PK now? Suck it, Jersey.
That old team's a mess, man.
I love it.
I think that there's, for me, right, like this season, I can see us getting a Metro spot, going a few rounds in the playoffs. But I think what's got me really excited is I can see Vigneault bringing a Stanley Cup to Philadelphia.
I want nothing more than
of course
than that, you know.
Right.
And he's come up short twice before with the Rangers and the Canucks. And the Flyers have come up short against the Blackhawks as recent as 2010.
Right.
You know, you want to talk about a redemption tour and somebody that has that fire lit underneath them. This is the perfect storm brewing right now. This is a coach that has been there, that hasn't gotten to the top of the mountain, but has been damn close. A team that, much under the same circumstances, has done that as well. I mean, not many people are left.
And a core that's being questioned.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a core of players like Drew and Voracek where people are constantly questioning whether or not they have what it takes to lead a team to Stanley Cup.
What better time to silence those doubters than now?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that they're going to win a Stanley Cup in the next year or so, but like, it's slowly starting to become a team that I can trust and I can get behind. Not that I haven't been behind them, but I'm gaining confidence in this team rapidly.
Yeah, no, I mean, same thing. There's just a level of, like, this is not a word, but get-it-doneness, like, that AV brings, where it's just like, we're going to do whatever it takes to get it done.
Responsibility.
Right, and what he does to the lineups, he's just constantly tinkering with the lineups to make sure that they're the best suited to win games.
Look at all the tinkering they did with that fourth line. You know, all those guys they brought up. There's 7 or 8 rookies that made their debut in the NHL just this year, 27 games in.
Right.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. Before, I kind of want to go into that whole, like, it's after Thanksgiving thing, and let's kind of project where this team's going to wind up. But before we do, I do want to talk a little bit about the one kind of black mark on this team that remains.
Yeah?
And it's somebody that I'm just getting more and more tired of dealing with. Shane Gostisbehere.
Man, I'm one of those guys, and you can bust my chops about it all you want. I'm one of those guys that firmly believes that there is still that Shane Gostisbehere there that was capable of 65 points. 47
but
points.
We're just
going to
wait around for it?
We can't. That's the thing. But it's so difficult because he's got, what, 3 years remaining on his deal?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I know it wasn't a long-term deal, but it was like 4 years at 4.75 or 4.5, something like that.
Yeah, I'm in the process of looking it up if you just want to keep talking.
Oh, I could do that.
Yeah, I know.
It's one of those things where with the right partner, he could succeed. But you're not going to put him on the top pairing with Provorov, and you're not going to slide Provorov off the top pairing to put him with a guy like Niskanen. Even the second pairing's a bit risky because that's your more responsible defenders with a guy like Justin Braun. Responsible might be a loose term. You look like you found the contract here.
And it's 3 more years after this year.
3 more years. Okay.
Listen, man. We can continue to go back to what he could possibly bring, but we've been talking about that for like a year and a half.
You're right.
At some point you just got to go, okay, that guy just doesn't have it here anymore. Maybe a change of scenery would do him good, but even he gets benched. What did he miss? 2 games? Was he scratched?
Yeah, I believe 2 games, 2 or 3.
And then AV's like, hey, we're on a winning streak, but I'm still going to put him in here. Typically, you don't really see that change until you lose the game. But to put him in the game, and there's just so many flaws.
He got lucky on that goal, and I'll give him that.
Yeah.
That was literally hey, look what I just did,
Right. Like, if you could just put him on the power play, great. But that's not how this works. You don't have the luxury to have, like, a specialty player.
Especially with the injury to Sam Morin, a guy that many thought would be able to slide into the lineup when needed.
Right.
You're kind of thin right now. You're going to call up who are you going to call up at this point? If there's an injury, if there's any type of dysfunction amongst the defensemen that are already there. And Vigneault's been again, he's been saying that this is going to end up being a rotation with Haig, Gostisbehere, and Myers. I mean,
right.
How long is it going to take for one of those guys to just outright come out and win that and say, I'm your guy, I deserve that spot, put it in concrete,
I don't know if he's hesitant to he doesn't want to burn out Myers. I do think eventually he's going to be the guy who takes the spot. But, he wants to see he knows that there's potential there with Gostisbehere. So he's getting him opportunities, but they're going to be coming in the form of, one game here, 1 game there. But I think this is it. This is the last season for Gostisbehere. I don't think they'll be able to trade him for any sort of value in season, but I think come draft time, he gets packaged with something and brings a little bit more offensive firepower. This
has all the makings of Gostisbehere was saying all the right things, like new coach, I'm going to come in motivated, I'm going to do this, and Vigneault, to the benefit of the doubt, has been giving Gostisbehere every opportunity under the sun to regain form, to instill that confidence in Vigneault that, hey, he's the guy. And it's not that he hasn't done that, but he hasn't convinced them otherwise, that he isn't the guy.
Right.
It's like, you've got to come out when you're in that type of position. Think about it in simple man terms like us. You go to your job. Your boss looks at you and you say, I don't like the way you're performing. What are you going to do about it? Like, okay, let me tell you what I'm going to do about it. I'm going to bust my ass, and I'm going to make you look at me and say, I love the work you do. that's essentially what Goss Despair did in the media, saying, I'm going to bust my ass, I'm going to do this, that, da-da-da. Has he done it?
Well,
not really.
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say he's not busting his ass.
No,
I'm
yeah.
sure he is.
I don't want to harp on his work ethic because I don't know, and I'm sure he's kicking himself right now, like really trying to get back in gear and regain form.
I just think he doesn't have it. I just don't think he has it anymore. I think at one point he was like the hero we needed. This team stunk. There was very few bright spots. He wound up being something to cheer for. We kind of made him our number one defenseman at a time, and it's just not that.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's a hard fall back to reality.
Right, it stinks, but I just more and more I'm kind of over the whole Shane Gostisbehere thing.
Yeah, I think next year it wouldn't surprise me if we saw a Shane Gostisbehere-less roster.
Yeah.
Worse things. But like you said, this could end up being a nice deal where you get a guy from somewhere else that needed a change of scenery as well.
Right.
Where maybe it works out for both teams. And, the guy that we get is a sniper or somebody that can put up goals because that's really what we need at this point. Defense, I think we're okay.
So, Gostisbehere, a first, and something for Taylor Hall.
There's no way Jersey trades Taylor Hall to the Flyers.
I know.
No way in New Jersey's hell. They trade Hall here.
I still want him.
I'd take him.
I don't care how unrealistic it is.
Yeah,
I sent out a tweet, something similar last night. I was like, you can save all that. I know it's not going to happen, but this is the new thing that I'm going for.
He is a winger, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so bear with me here. That trade goes through, and we have Taylor Hall now.
Mm-hmm.
Top line. Morgan Frost, Taylor Hall, Claude Giroux.
Yep. Okay.
Are you not moist in the undercarriage?
This is one of those moments where I was going to say something, caught myself, and I think we should just change
And
topics.
I said it for you.
No, I was going somewhere else, and I'm just not going to. Had to do with camping, and
Pitching a tent? I get it. We're on the same wavelength. This is why we do this.
I know.
But in all seriousness,
should we talk about the whole Thanksgiving thing?
We gotta talk about the whole Thanksgiving thing. So, John, you seem eager to talk about it. Lead us, my friend.
Well, Thanksgiving is kind of like the measure. American Thanksgiving. I'm sorry, Canadian listeners. We do have a few. American Thanksgiving is like the measuring stick for whether or not a team is going to be a playoff team. And believe it or not, it turns out to be quite successful. I read something that 90-something% of teams that are in playoff position by American Thanksgiving end up making the playoffs. So I think it would be kind of cool to just talk about where we think this team can actually be, because right now, if you look at the standings, we're a playoff team. And statistically, Stevie Heat Maps, we should be in the playoffs because American Thanksgiving's over.
You're right. And the Stevie Heat Maps name drop right there really made my night. If that report, if that statement is true, 90% of teams in a playoff position by Thanksgiving. 90-something. So not necessarily 90, but above 90. Man, I'll tell you what, and this is me being cautiously optimistic, obviously. At the very least, this team gets in as a wild card team. I really think. The strength of the Metro isn't... It's not like NFC East bad, but it's not like... What division out there is really good right now? Isn't like the NFC West pretty good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got Seattle and
San Fran.
San Fran.
Yeah, it's not NFC West good, but it's definitely not NFC East bad.
Is the NFC West that good, though? Is St. Louis that good? Arizona kind of stinks.
The Rams are all right.
All right, who cares? All right. Anyway,
hockey
Derek,
podcast.
my question for you is, how far can you see this team going? Is this a playoff team? Is this a win around team? What do you think?
This is a playoff team.
Yep.
This is a win around team.
Okay.
This is not a Stanley Cup champion team.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you agree. We've had this discussion multiple times before. It's not that I don't trust this team. I just don't think that with some of the deficiencies that they've shown to this point, they could get by and make it and take home Lord Stanley. It's tough for me to fathom that. And
right. Well, Lord Stanley's dead, so I mean, they might be able to find his remains somewhere and maybe bring him home if that's really what they want to do.
They're not going to hoist his cup. All right, you wanted me to say that. That's what I said. They're not going to hoist his cup. Sorry, Stanley.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they want to bring Lord Stanley home. They could just stop playing and go figure that out.
Buy him a few drinks first.
I think, and I kind of said this before, what's worked in the regular season so far is points matter. Right? It doesn't matter how you get them. Points matter. When you get to the playoffs, there is no overtime. Like, there's no overtime point. You have to win the game. So that's the only thing that's got me a little bit cautious about the Flyers when we're talking about the playoffs is they're getting points. They're not necessarily sealing the deal night in and night out. And you're going to need to do that come playoff time. Now, there's a lot of time to change that. But right now, right, I'm not sold on them going too far in the playoffs because they're not necessarily winning games.
That's literally the last hurdle to clear. You've got a team that can go on streaks. You've got a team that can win tough games. A team that can battle back. And then you look at this team that is constantly finding themselves climbing out of a hole that they dug themselves. And they get the point, claw back in just enough to get that point. But then fold when it matters to get the 2 points instead of just the 1. Like you said, no 2 points in playoff hockey. It's win or lose. That's it.
Yep.
If they, and like you said, plenty of time left, if they can show that they're capable of winning those games and just really encapsulating that killer mentality, that's a damn good team in my opinion. I'm not going to go as far to say as Stanley Cup winning, but pretty close.
Well, I mean, like everybody always says, all you have to do is get in.
Yeah.
And then it's all the hot team. I mean, and this team has shown when they are hot, they're very good. So if you can, as the season goes on, if you can enter the playoffs on a strong wave, who knows? The sky's the limit. But I agree with you. I think right now this is a team that we can confidently say will win a round. But I just think we're a little too afraid to go any further than that.
Yeah, it's that cautious, optimistic standpoint and that approach because so long we've been conditioned that this team makes it and it's like, oh, great, but then they just get their asses handed to them in the first round. So, hey, if they can surprise a few folks, win a round or two, awesome. I mean, great.
Right.
Good start to AV's career in Philadelphia here.
All right. I mean, should we move on?
I think we should move on here. I think we really, just kind of were all over the place there a little bit, but at the same rate, it's like we touched on a lot of different things.
We're touching all sorts of things.
Yes, we did. The month of November was hot. We had great goaltending, defense, and play from the forwards. Now, one of our newest segments, we're going to talk around the NHL. We've got a couple things here. Each of us are going to pick something to talk about that happened around the NHL. You want to lead off with the fun stuff or the serious stuff? What do you think?
Well, I think if we didn't start off with my story, people would go, oh my God, you're not going to talk about this? So we should probably just talk about it and get it done with.
Let's do it.
I mean, do I even need to go into detail? Bill Peters. What in the hell? I mean,
yikes. So
I'm not going to go into the details of the story because if you listen to this podcast, you definitely know what happened. Bill Peters, head coach of the Calgary Flames, news came out that he used some racial words that I'm not going to say because no.
We all know what they are.
In a locker room to a player, which in its own, now this was years ago. I think he was coaching Rockford in the AHL. Doesn't matter. He said them. It's nasty. Calgary was kind of like, we need to find out all the facts before we do anything about it. In that time, like, floodgates opened just about how big of a, excuse my French, shitbag this guy is. Apparently he abused players. Rod Brind'Amour, the current head coach of the Carolina Hurricanes, wouldn't even deny Bill Peters' behavior when he was head coach of Carolina.
Very telling.
So it kind of turned, a few days go by, and then he tenders his resignation. you know how that goes, where it's Calgary is going to fire you, you might as well resign. The thing that I kind of want to touch on a little bit more here is Calgary's way of handling this. I almost feel like it just wasn't aggressive enough. Like, I don't think this guy should have been given the opportunity to tender his resignation. I think they should have fired his ass.
To be fair, and you can finish your point here, but I'm going to play devil's advocate in a bit.
For sure.
Yeah. You're done your point.
Oh no! I thought you were going to cut me off, and then no. Okay, yeah, no. All right, I'll finish.
Yeah.
But I just feel like they didn't address the giant elephant in the room with, acknowledging the fact that he said these things and that the Calgary Flames will not, stand behind somebody like this. I just feel like there wasn't, and they might have said it, and I don't know about it because I don't follow Calgary media too close, but I just feel like there wasn't like a level of like assertiveness and aggressiveness to this.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Now, in contrast to that, and I shouldn't say in defense of Bill Peters because personally I don't want to defend a guy like that. Right. But in Calgary's defense, I should say, they do have to kind of wait for not due process, but just they need to find everything out. They need to gather the facts, the information, because you terminate a guy without having everything kind of set in stone, so to say, that opens up your franchise and your establishment, to lawsuits of wrongful termination,
right?
Things like that. And I'm not saying that should have been the deterrent for Calgary to not make those moves, but it's a legal recourse type of thing where it's like, I don't want to get down that road.
No, and I totally get that. I guess just when they finally had their information, just like showing, I don't know how to explain it, but just showing a little bit more assertiveness and just saying, we're not going to tolerate this. He made mistakes, and that does not represent Calgary Flames. We want nothing to do with them. We cut our ties.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing now too is like everybody is coming out and saying that somebody did something in the locker room that they shouldn't have.
The floodgates are open, baby. This is what happens.
You know what it reminds me of? And I hate doing this because it's such an awful thing, but it reminds me of like the Penn State time.
You read my mind.
Where it was once that happened, it was headlines everywhere that someone else was doing it, and you hope whenever somebody gets put into the news like that, then that the people that are saying it are telling the truth, because that destroys someone's career. But it's just unreal the amount of things that are coming out now.
I was in Center County covering that case as a photographer when I worked with the news, and some of the details you hear, man, oh my God. Like, I'm glad I don't work in that industry anymore for other reasons, but that's one thing that, like, you've got to have a real sick sense of humor or a real just crazy mindset, I should say. I don't even know where to go with that, but
no, I got you.
It's tough dealing with stuff like that on the regular,
Right, but look at the NHL now. In the past few weeks, you've had Don Cherry, Mike Babcock, now you got Bill Peters, and you got all these other people who, I'm not going to go into specifics because I don't know the names off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But it's just wild the amount that's happening. And then you got this old school, and I'm using air quotes, mentality that is now being brought to light where people are just like, no, I'm looking back at that and you shouldn't have done that to me.
Yeah, it was a different time. And that's obviously an argument for another time. That could literally be an entire episode. We could talk about this. But for now, that's how hockey was back then. And now, with the way people look at it, it's like, that's terrible. And they're right. In this day and age, if that happens...
We're not condoning this. No, it was always wrong. It was always wrong.
Yes.
But there was like a level of acceptance to it at that time.
Yes.
Which doesn't make it right, but that's just the way things went.
Yeah, exactly. You're right.
I'm like Mr. PR guy over here. Like,
no, you're right, though.
Saying.
You're right. I mean, it's a different time, but it doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it more acceptable. It's just you could argue like that's how things were back then. It's like, yeah, that's right, but it still doesn't make things okay,
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just wild to see because hockey always seemed to kind of hide away from all of this stuff. Every once in a while, you had like the Slava Voinov shitheads. That was his name, right? I didn't just okay.
Dickwad.
But it wasn't like this, and this is just wild. I don't think it's going to get any better. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better.
It will. It definitely will. Yeah.
God, I hope AV was good.
Oh, I hope
Please
so too.
tell me AV was good.
At least let him win a Stanley Cup first.
All right, but now let's go to the light, heartwarming stuff.
Let's get happy, right? Let's talk about this past weekend. There was 2 events that I being in news, I've covered a ton of stuff, and it's always fun. I never covered this for this specific team, but the Calgary Hitmen for the 25th straight year have done the teddy bear toss. Awesome thing. I absolutely love teddy bear tosses. It warms my cold, black, dark heart. 25,025 bears, or stuffed animals, if you will, thrown over the boards and collected at that Calgary event. 25 years, I believe it's the longest running teddy bear toss in the world, if I'm not mistaken. So hats off to Calgary Hitmen, Igor Zamula. Yes, sir. Flyers prospect, obviously, but it's great. And then to my, close hometown, the Hershey Bears set a world record: 45,650 stuffed animals thrown over the boards after Christian Juice scored in the first period. I believe it was the first period.
It's in my daughter's bedroom.
It's crazy.
46,000 stuffed animals.
There's a guy, and I watched this on the local news, that he donates, I think he said $1 or something like that for every stuffed animal donated. That guy just donated over 45 grand.
Wow.
And this goes to charities, this goes to foundations, this goes to Penn State Hershey, which I've been there and I've seen kids' reactions when these bears have been donated. And
that's awesome.
I'm not kidding you. I'm tearing up right now just thinking about it. Like, it means the world to these kids. It does.
No, that's great. I mean, it goes to show you that even though there's ugly crap going on in the sport, there's still great things too. I mean, and the teddy bear toss is one of those just magnificent things.
Yeah, so I'm glad we could at least end on a good note for the Around the NHL segment here.
Speaking of people who like teddy bears, should we talk about prospects?
Let's talk about prospects. I don't know where you're going with that, but let's
they're
do
young,
it.
They're kids. Get it, like teddy bears and kids, and
that's cute.
All right, so I don't want to spend too much time on this segment because we do have questions this week, right?
We've got quite a few here.
All right, yeah. So I'm just going to do this quick. This week, I kind of want to touch on a negative prospect or a negative story around a prospect, and that's Wade Allison.
Hey.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but Wade Allison, coming into his senior year for Western Michigan, didn't get an entry-level contract last season. Struggled with injuries. This was kind of his make or break year. Unfortunately, and no pun intended, it's breaking. He's only managed 7 games because he's been dealing with a shoulder injury. He only has 3 points. I really like this kid, but it's more and more looking like he is not going to get a contract at the end of this year. And
that's a shame.
It really is. I mean, I think that the concern around the injuries now. I mean, he can't stay healthy. When he's healthy, he's able to produce. But if that's not going to be consistent enough now, I don't know that Philadelphia is going to take a flyer on him.
Yeah.
Hey, I got myself for that.
I got a quick question for you. Is it raining where you are?
It was like snaining before.
Like a little bit of mist?
Like a snow rain.
Okay, how close are you to Buffalo?
Nowhere near Buffalo.
All right, well, it's pouring in Buffalo right now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's 5-0 against the Devils. Sorry. We touched on how bad the Devils have been.
Clever son of a gun, yeah.
And I had to do it because just F the Devils.
It's definitely snowing at Buffalo, too. It just snows in Buffalo for 10 of the 12 months of the year.
I don't live there. I don't care.
Yeah. Nah, nobody cares about Buffalo except for people in Buffalo. Sorry,
Exactly.
Buffalo. But anyway, yeah, Wade Allison, it's not looking good.
Yeah, and that sucks. It's unfortunate, but hey, another subtle reminder that not all these prospects are going to pan out. So
right.
There's your weekly reality check for you folks. Now we're skipping wait what because we don't have any, except I'm going to sneak one in here. Eagles lost to the Dolphins.
Oh, shut up.
Suckers. Anyways, here's our questions for the week coming from Twitter, and our first question comes from our contest winner from last week. We got Matt Hoagland, and he goes, if possible, who would you trade in order to get Taylor Hall?
Okay, so I would go first round pick. We don't need any more. Ghost. But then you need something else.
Hagen a third.
Hagen a third. Probably crap.
You probably give up a decent prospect that's like on the cusp of being ready.
Yeah, but is someone like Rubstov going to cut it? I mean, no, not now. I mean, his situations. But, like, to me, is it someone like Ratcliffe?
Do you want to give up on Ratcliffe? Not necessarily give up, but sell on him?
Well, no, but I'm also going to understand that in order to get Taylor Hall, you're going to have to give up something. And I'm not giving up Farabee or Frost.
And you're giving up – you don't know whether he's going to sign with the Flyers yet. I mean, this is the last year of his contract.
Right.
And let's be honest, it's going to take a pretty penny to retain his services.
Right. Now, we don't have the cap space right now.
No, we don't. Not even to acquire him right now. We'd have to give up cap space to get him. Ghost is a start, but
right.
You got to think.
Do you think the Devils would take someone like Voracek?
Lord, no. I mean, I've traded Voracek to the Devils a million times playing NHL 13, but,
13?
That was back in the day.
Upgrade.
That was back in the day.
Okay.
Maybe it was NHL 15. Let's go with that.
All right.
But no, I don't think that happens. And again, like I said before, there's no way Taylor Hall is a Flyer.
No.
By the end of the season, I should say. Free agency, anything could happen, but not in the trade market.
Right now, there's just no trade the Flyers could swing where they would have the cap space and the Devils would be interested and the Flyers would be comfortable giving up the pieces. It's just, yeah.
If Fletcher could convince the Devils to take Voracek, I would start building his statue outside of Wells Fargo Center.
Yep.
Especially if that deal involved Taylor Hall and it brought the Flyers a cup. That could replace the Kate Smith statue that people have been longing for so long.
Right. There it is.
Next question comes from Ben Molesky. Ben, given comments made by Provy after the Montreal game, what do you think about the idea that AV's system is that the Flyers play dump and chase in the first, making the other team play a 200-foot game, then, when they are tired out, open up late in the second and third? I love it.
Yeah, I think it's genius. I think if there's strategy involved, yeah.
If that's the strategy, keep doing it.
Right. Hell, if it's working.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great strategy. We could go in depth about it, but I'm not going to, and I'm just going to say that tire them out in the first, they're tired for the second and the third, great. Capitalize on it.
Hey, if it's working.
Yeah. Our buddy Lou Crescetto, who is Mark Janone's only fan now, apparently, has Ghost's game changed, or has the rest of the league somehow changed? Because it wasn't long ago that he was a really effective offensive defenseman. What the hell happened?
I mean, we spent a decent amount of time talking about Ghost before. I really don't know.
Yeah. The game constantly changes.
Right.
I'll give him that. But the game hasn't changed that much since Ghost was an effective offensive defenseman. It's just that Ghost may not be able to keep up with the pace. He might not be able to produce at that level that he did when he put up 65 points.
Right. I also wonder if the speed of the game has increased enough where his defensive side of hockey has become so exposed. He's trying to focus on that aspect that the offense is now taking a hit. Yeah. I'm completely making that up, but that's just...
No, I mean, where there's weight in one area, it's like you've got to... When you're a defenseman, defense is in the name of your position, so you need to focus on that.
You have to be able to...
If there's
he's not very good.
Exactly. Maybe there's too much of a weight being emphasized with defense. Maybe his fault, maybe not. I don't know. But if we're going to move on, we've got Dorian57 with the perfect question. I love these questions.
Yeah, this is a good question. I don't have a great answer, but this is a good question.
I've got a decent answer, but
okay,
we'll give it away here in a second. It's game 82 of the season, and we need to win to make it to the playoffs. The game goes to a shootout based off the season to date. Which 3 players are you sending over the boards? Obviously for the shootout.
Yep.
John?
You start, and then I'll give you mine.
My first player that I'm sending over the boards, and this isn't necessarily based off the season to date, it's based off of what I want to see, because I think they're going to be... I'm playing AV for a second here. My number 1 guy, Giroux.
Yep.
I'm starting off strong. I want... Giroux, I won't say he's almost a certainty, but he's the closest thing in a shootout that comes to a certainty.
The established guy, I'm only cutting in because I agree with you on the first one. The established guy, I think, should be the tone setter.
Yeah. Second guy, I would probably go Couturier.
Okay.
I'm going to go top heavy because I want to seal the deal early. Mm-hmm. Couturier had that Forsberg move, what was it, a week or 2 ago, that just slid one past, I forget the team. I can't remember for the life of me, but it was silky. It was beautiful. And if he can make that play, 9 out of 10 times, awesome. I'm putting him in the lineup, and the guy's got good hands. I trust a guy like that.
Okay.
You're number 2.
My number 2 is going to be Travis Konechny.
Oh, okay.
I just think, he's got the skill. He's just got this never give up attitude where, when you get to that 2 spot, you could possibly win the game. His work ethic to me, attached to the skill that he has, is somebody that I would feel pretty confident being the number 2 guy.
I like that. I like the rationale behind it. Number 3. Do you want to start with number 3?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's going to like me for this one, because this one's a little bit off the cuff.
Okay.
Morgan Frost.
I agree.
Do you really?
I absolutely agree.
I just think, very similar to Konechny, but this guy's skill set is unbelievable. You can see what he does with the puck.
The mitts,
and
baby.
Right. Oh. And he's a rookie. He wants to prove something. This guy is not ever going to be complacent this season.
I love it.
Yes!
I've never felt closer to you than I am right now.
I was like, dude, he's going to rip me to shreds on this.
No! I literally thought about this before we went on tonight, and I'm just like, I would totally put Morgan Frost in a shootout in Game 82. Why not?
He was the only one that I was certain that was where I was going to go.
And as number 3, ice it. I want the kid to ice it. Morgan Frost,
right.
Frost, ice. It's just it all perfect storm, perfect Frost storm.
No, you just keep going. Just keep going. Yeah, no. But seriously, I do think that it's just he's got the skills, and there's so much potential to what he's able to do. Where put him in a position like that, I don't think he would disappoint. He might not make it, but he wouldn't disappoint.
Oh, yeah. Now, we've got 5 more questions here. We're going to try to rattle through them here. How many more Flyers players can be useful fantasy league players? And this is just a joke about our fantasy league. That is, are there any guys I can add to my first place squad that can give me double joy when they score? Or if you grab them instead, can those players close the huge gap in our Yahoo Pod Street Bullies league? Cliff, you will not last in that top spot.
Because I'm coming back once they're healthy, baby.
You're 7th, correct?
Yeah, but I lost Rantanen and Marner.
Yeah, exactly, and they're back. They're
right. Well,
Marner's close to being back.
Yeah.
He was skating today, I saw.
Dude, that spot's mine. Once everybody's healthy, that spot's mine. Some idiot traded me Jack Eichel.
Let me give you a dose of your own medicine. Pump the brakes, because this guy started in the cellar, and I'm up at 3rd right now. So listen. Thank you for Braden Shen and Drew Doughty, because they rounded out my perfect team, because I had plenty of depth at center. I could afford to get rid of Jack Eichel, so suck it. Second off, Cliff, I tweeted this at you from the Pod Street Bullies account. The only way from where you are now is down. And it was Rafiki throwing Simba off the cliff in Lion King. That's what I'm going to do to you. I'm taking you off the mountain, son. We're going to do this.
And then I'm going to AV him, and he's going to get tired in the first period, dumping the puck with you, and then I'm going to come in and kick his ass and take over first.
Wrong.
Your
I'm
ass.
Jody Shelley you and just ragdoll you around the rink.
All right, let's keep going. We could just go on forever.
Next question, we get Brian. Brian Gartside, it looks like, from his @ symbol. I'm not savvy with Twitter lingo. What's the right mix of Hart and Elliott starts for the rest of the year? His opinion, he'd go 35 starts for Hart and 20 for Elliott. I like that because that's what's working right now.
Yeah.
You know, you look at it, if I can just quick crunch some math here, shoot. Elliott went 3-2-0. That's 5 games in October. November, he went 4-0-2. That's 6. So that's 11 games. You know, Elliott had 11 games so far, so that would leave 16 games for Hart.
Right.
That's pretty accurate. And it's not quite a starting goalie, backup goalie, but it's also not exactly a platoon situation.
I think I would go a little bit less on Hart just because of the ups and downs he's had this season.
Okay.
You know, I could see 1 or 2 more times where it's like it's not like he completely craps the bed, but maybe he just needs a little bit more rest. So I don't know if I want to go 35 starts Hart.
And
but close.
Yeah, and there are a lot of back-to-back games, so you're going to get, you know, the equal amount of starts for Elliott and Hart in those situations. I think the Flyers might lead the league in back-to-backs this year. I think I read that somewhere.
They always do.
Yeah, they have a say in some of their scheduling, but Lord knows what happens with that. But we're going to move on here. Cliff is back with another actually serious question. Who gets 30 goals this year between Lindblom, Couturier, Konechny, or all three? He says, I'm looking forward to the next game versus the Pens. I bet they win by more than a couple. How high can they climb in the Metro? First off, 30 goal scorers. Do you see any on the Flyers right now?
Lindblom right now leads the team in goals, if I'm correct, I think with 11.
I don't think you are right.
I don't see him scoring 30. I see him, more like mid-20s. TK, for sure, I think he'd get over 30. I think that he might be the only one, though.
TK might be the only one that's going to eclipse 30 goals.
Yeah.
Now, you got to think, what was it, the past 2 years, Couturier eclipsed 30 goals.
Yeah, I think he's going to get 29 and a half this year.
You just continue to piss me off. But you're right. Konechny is second on the team in goals with 9. Lindblom's first with 11. At this pace, if it keeps up, Lindblom will have 30 goals. Konechny probably will too. And at this rate, Couturier, Giroux, and by default, Hazen, maybe
Jesus,
even
will you
Voracek.
stop? Just stop.
If we're just going by correlative numbers.
Well, that's not
you're
gonna
right.
work.
We're not going to have 6 30-goal scores. I'm just saying, I think there's a real chance that all
I don't
three...
even know who you are anymore.
You know exactly who I am.
You completely changed in the past 3 minutes, and it's upsetting me.
It's these painkillers that I'm on. No, I'm kidding. But I think it's a realistic possibility that if Lindblom, Konechny, and Couturier keep up the pace, they could all score 30 goals. I'm not saying...
they all could.
Yeah.
But I think TK is going to be the one. TK, 30. TK, I'm going to give you exact numbers. TK, 34. Couturier, 29 and a half. And I'm going to go Lindblom, 26.
Lindblom is scoring 29. I'll bank on it.
All right.
Konechny, 33.
You're going to take the half point?
No, I'm not taking the half because you can't actually score half a goal. It's not like sacks in the NFL.
Yeah, we need to finish this up.
We do.
We do.
But yes, and how high can they climb in the Metro? Honestly, if they finished first, it wouldn't really shock me, but it would still shock me.
Right, I'm going to go second.
Yeah, second's their ceiling.
Yeah.
And Bud Levetsky, any of the defensemen getting moved? Are they in the market for a sniper? What team isn't in the market for a sniper? But defensive wise, there's not a lot of defense to move unless you're talking prospects. Guys that aren't signed to an ELC yet.
Right. I mean, yeah. None of the NHL guys can really be moved at this point because unless you're going to add another defenseman to the mix.
Yeah.
You can't really afford to at this point. But yeah, of course, they're in the market for a sniper. Like you said, everybody is.
Yeah, you could use a seventh defenseman. That'd be great. Yeah, right. But the sniper, obviously, the obvious choice. Nicholas Hankins goes, what is the Flyers' ceiling? Are they at it, or can they get better, or are they overachieving? They're definitely not at the ceiling, in my opinion.
No.
Absolutely not.
Well, when I think of ceiling, I think of, how far can they go?
Yeah, sky's the limit, baby.
Yeah, I'm going Eastern Conference Finals is the limit, but...
Yeah. No, I don't see them in the Stanley Cup Finals. I could see them losing the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm with you on that.
Right. But also, can they get better? Yes. But can they get worse?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Like I told Cliff, the only way to go from the top is down. But he also asks, can they compete for the division?
I do think they can compete for it. I'm just not ready to say that they can win it.
Yeah. There are strong teams at the top. Again, not a very strong division as a whole, but at the top, it's pretty strong. Right. We did have one come through our DMs here, and it comes from Jake. And this is the last question. Do you think that it's possible that the Flyers turn back into the same old Flyers and turn out to be a bubble playoff team, or is AV really changing the culture?
I'm going to probably contradict myself here, but I do think that AV is really changing the culture. I also think it's very possible that this team reverts back to the old Flyers because this game is played by the players, not the coaches.
Yeah. The coach can tell you what to do. The coach can prep you for every game and have you as ready as possible mentally.
Right.
At the end of the day, you have to perform. It's on the players' shoulders to put the pucks in the back of the net. It's on the goalie's shoulders to stop those pucks from going in the back of the net. It's a crapshoot. It really is.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, folks,
that's about it.
That is it. And on that note, we're going to say goodbye. We're going to tell you that aside from the shoelace chewing ad that John had earlier today, feel free to reach out to us with any type of advertising opportunities that you would like. Our email is in our Twitter bio. You can obviously DM either one of us or the podcast account on Twitter as well. And no contest next week, correct?
I thought we were. Are we doing it every other week?
We're going to do the contest every other week from here on out because John just spoke it into existence. We're going to do this contest. We just took a break from it this week. There's a lot of stuff we wanted to touch on as just the general...
We were getting jealous. People were showing us up. We wanted to restake the claim of the microphones.
We're the Pod Street Bullies. There's 2 Pod Street Bullies, not 3. So next week we will be running the contest. Look out for that question on Twitter. We will ask it, and then the first person to answer gets the chance to come on and recap the games with us next week. Aside from that, John, please tell everybody where they can find you on all social media platforms.
You can find me on Twitter at PodStreetGove. That's kind of it on the social media stuff. I hate all that other crap. Yeah. You can find my work at Philly Sports Network. I just did a piece on not Claude Giroux, the other redhead with the beard, Jake Voracek. And I'm going to do a piece on Wade Allison. It's not going to be nice to read, but whatever. Yeah, that's it on me.
Realism hurts, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
You can find me on Twitter at PodStreetBob. You can find my work on PSN. I had a piece come out today. I got 2 more coming out tomorrow. I'm laid up. My knee hurts. I've got nothing better to do, folks. You're going to hear a lot from me here. But as far as that goes, we're done. And this has been the Pod Street Bullies. As always, leaving you off with, let's go Flyers.
Bye now. Buy our merch.